Fans, you're not going to believe this. After a painful defeat against Arsenal, one of our Warriors simply exploded at the final whistle and went straight for none other than Mikel Arteta. That's right, Joelinton completely lost his patience, and the scene has taken over social media. I'm Rodrigo, and you're watching Newcastle Mania, the channel made by a fan for fans who live and breathe Newcastle United. You blinked, and Newcastle was making headlines everywhere again. And look, what happened after the final whistle is something that's going to be talked about for days. But first, just a quick word. If you love Newcastle and want to stay on top of everything happening with our club, hit that subscribe button right now. It's free, it helps us a lot, and it makes a massive difference for the growth of our black and white community. From hero to furious warrior, in just a few minutes. Joelinton couldn't handle the frustration and ended up in a heavy argument with Arsenal staff, and even with Arteta himself. At the end of the match, with the 2-1 defeat confirmed, the atmosphere on the pitch was heavy. Newcastle's players were devastated. The crowd inside St. James Park fell into complete silence, and that's when the cameras caught the moment that set the internet on fire. Joelinton going head-to-head with Miguel Molina, one of Arteta's closest assistants. The row started right near the technical area when Molina supposedly mocked Newcastle's players after the whistle. Joelinton, who was already fuming with the way the match ended, wasn't having it. He stormed towards him, waving his arms, demanding an explanation. That's when Arteta himself stepped in. Instead of calming things down, the Arsenal boss reacted in the same fiery tone. Tempers flared, words were exchanged, and suddenly both sides were at each other. Security and coaching staff had to rush in to prevent it from turning into a full-on fight. And let's be honest, lads, you can't really blame Joelinton. The game was full of controversy, dodgy penalty calls, rough challenges going unpunished, and to top it all off, the winning goal came straight after a refereeing mistake that had our fans raging. Joelinton, who had already picked up a yellow card in stoppage time for booting the ball away, was on edge. The image of him going face-to-face with Molina and then staring down Arteta went viral instantly. Many Newcastle fans saw it as proof that Joelinton is one of us, a player who feels the defeat, who won't take disrespect even when standing against one of the so-called giants of the Premier League. The reaction was massive and immediate. Barely seconds after the final whistle, clips of Joelinton's clash with Molina were all over Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Newcastle fans flooded social media, calling Joelinton the heart of the team, praising him for being the only one who refused to take the provocation lying down. The press jumped straight on it too. Football shows in England opened debates about the incident. Some pundits praised Joelinton, calling it a show of leadership and personality. Others criticized him, saying he should have stayed calm. Even Spanish outlets covering Mikel Merino's winning goal mentioned the bust-up, proof that the story had crossed borders. And of course, EFTV was on fire. Arsenal fans turned the whole thing into a joke, mocking Joelinton and calling him a sore loser. But in response, the Toon Army filled the internet with messages of support. Many said he's the soul of this team, the one who truly represents us on the pitch, the warrior who will never bow his head in defeat. The divide was clear, rivals mocking him, but the black and white family standing firmly behind their man. Comments like "This is the spirit we want to see," and "Joelinton is the true warrior of Newcastle" spread everywhere. Even ex-players got involved, with some praising him for showing passion and refusing to accept injustice. In the end, the reaction only proved what Joelinton means at St. James Park today. More than just a footballer, he's a symbol of fight and identity for our supporters. And let's not forget, clashes with Arsenal are nothing new. Every time these two sides meet, something controversial kicks off. Last year, we had that penalty shout on Gabriel that left Eddie Howe furious in his press conference. In another game, Arteta exploded at the officials, calling the refereeing a disgrace. This rivalry has been simmering for a while. On Sunday, the pressure cooker finally blew up. Throughout the match, the tension was obvious. Every tough tackle had players surrounding the referee. Every decision was met with jeers from the stands. St. James Park was boiling over, and when the Gunners scored the winner in the dying minutes, the patience of our players snapped. Joelinton didn't just explode out of nowhere. He was the voice of what the whole squad was feeling: anger, frustration, and the sense that once again Newcastle were on the wrong side of the big decisions. At that moment, he said what everyone else was thinking, but couldn't say out loud. Behind the scenes, there are even whispers that the players have grown tired of the way these clashes with Arsenal keep being marred by controversy. Every time, it feels like the scales are tipped. And when that happens too often, trust in refereeing gets worn down. So Joelinton's outburst wasn't just an isolated tantrum, it was the snapshot of a bigger story. A rivalry that's growing season after season, marked by arguments, nerves on edge, and the feeling that Newcastle have to fight against everything and everyone to earn respect. And of course, in a situation like this, the managers were never going to go unnoticed. Mikel Arteta, who already has the reputation of being explosive on the touchline, didn't let it slide. As soon as he saw Joelinton arguing with his assistant, Miguel Molina, he jumped right into the chaos, waving his arms, raising his voice, and showing that fiery style that has become his trademark. And you know this, Arteta thrives on intensity. When he feels his staff or his players are being confronted, he charges straight in without thinking twice. On the other side, Eddie Howe tried to keep that calm posture he's known for, but you could clearly see he's reaching his limit too. In the post-match press conference, the manager said it would be dealt with internally and stressed that he understood the players' frustration. It was the political tone, the type of speech designed not to fuel the fire even more. But if you actually watched Howe on the touchline, you could see it. He was visibly frustrated. Every refereeing decision that went against Newcastle, every foul ignored, was met with looks of disbelief, open arms, facial expressions that showed exactly how annoyed he was. And you can't blame him, can you? This isn't the first time it's happened in a big game. Howe knows his team has to compete on equal terms with the Premier League giants, but when controversial refereeing decisions keep piling up, the frustration is inevitable. Let's be honest, Howe might be diplomatic in front of the cameras, but deep down, he must be fed up. This contrast between the two managers really stands out. Arteta, the hothead, who turns every little detail into a personal battle. Howe, the calmer one, who tries to focus on football but clearly feels the injustice in his bones. And caught in the middle of these two personalities are the players, who end up carrying all that tension on their shoulders. And don't forget, Joelinton wasn't the only one fuming. Other players showed their frustration too. Nick Pope, who protested heavily after that decisive corner, and Toon Army, who openly said after the match that the team needed to learn from moments like this. Joelinton's outburst was just the most obvious reflection of a wider feeling across the squad. At the end of the day, this whole episode has made one thing clear. Howe is a leader who protects his players publicly, but behind closed doors, he must be more and more concerned about the impact of these controversies on his team's performances. While Arteta celebrates the victory and defends his men to the end, Howe is left trying to put out fires and keep Newcastle United in the middle of all the chaos. This actually brings back memories of similar moments with other clubs when patience snapped. Who doesn't remember when Klopp nearly went toe-to-toe with Arteta? Well, this time it was Joelinton who showed he won't just sit back and take provocation. And in truth, that shows personality, because no fan wants to see a player who just bows his head in the face of injustice. So now the big question, what happens next? Will the FA step in and investigate? Could Joelinton face punishment? Or will this moment become the fuel that brings the squad even closer together? The reality is, even though it was controversial, that kind of reaction shows fight, shows passion for the club. And that's something the fans always respect. Magpies, it hurts to lose like that. It hurts to see the team throw away a result in the dying minutes. But if there's one thing that gives us some comfort, it's seeing players who feel the same pain we feel. Joelinton might have lost his temper, but he showed exactly how much this club means to him. And that's what Newcastle needs, people who will fight to the very end. And what about you, fan? Do you think Joelinton was right to stand up to Arsenal and Arteta? Or should he have kept his cool? I really want to know what you think. Drop your opinion down in the comments. And before you go, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share this video with that mate who's a Magpie through and through. It helps Newcastle Mania grow and keeps this black and white community buzzing with more and more content. Thanks a lot for sticking with me until the end, and I'll see you in the next one.